Across FromSoftware's worlds, tragedy isn't always fireworks. Often it's a small detail in an item description, a broken sentence from a dying NPC, or realizing what has become of your beloved femboy. Today I'll walk through the lore of one tragic figure from each title, the story behind them, the choices that shaped their ruin, and why the world turned them into sorrow. No hard takes, just the facts, the fragments, and the sadness that follows them.
Why? Why? After all this searching, I still cannot find it. Was it all a lie? Have I done this all for nothing? Oh, my dear son. What now? What should I do? My son. My dear, dear son.
When you enter the Valley of Defilement, you expect horror, and you get it, by the way. But Maiden Astraea or Astraea isn't horror in the spectacle sense. She is heartbreak as atmosphere. The game gives you a skeleton of who she was, a woman devoted to caring for the sick, a saintly presence in a place everything else forgot. She chose to stay with the suffering, to comfort and to heal. The game's fragment and NPC dialogue suggest she accepted the demon's souls, or was consumed by the valley's corruption in an effort to help others. Picture that for a second, someone who gave everything to other people and paid for it with their own body and mind. Gwyn, please take notes. What's especially painful is the fight itself and the dialogue of his character when you try to kill her. You don't feel triumphant when she falls. The music, the lighting, the fact that Garl Vinland is there watching, it's staged to make you uncomfortable about inevitability of it. The player becomes the instrument of mercy killing, or the instrument of putting down something that once was kind. That moral ambiguity is the core of her tragedy. I mean, it's the same as the quote that I said in No I'm Not a Human video, which was, are you really a human when you do this kind of stuff? Power is an evil thing, and you are doing everything to gain it. Astraea isn't corrupted because she failed. She is corrupted because she succeeded at taking others' pain. So, who's the main corrupted person here? You who would kill people as saintly as this character for whatever reason, or Astraea who would sacrifice herself for the poor. So many people couldn't bring themselves to kill her at the first place, which shows how tragic her end is. Dark Souls gives us an elegy in two parts. Arturias, the legendary Abyss Walker, and Sif, the great Grey Wolf. Arturias volunteered or was chosen to face the Abyss in a desperate attempt to stop it consuming the world. He failed, but his failure wasn't cowardice, it was the cost of a noble stand. Then there is Sif. Sif isn't just a big dog you fight for loot. Sif is a grieving companion guarding the memory of his dead friend. Imagine losing your entire reason for being, then spending your last days in a vigil at a grave. That image is so brutal. What makes the moment unbearable is the player's role. You didn't kill Arturias, timed it, you already know that, but you do kill Sif. The game choreographs it so you can't be proud of the victory. The wolf limps, the music turns mournful, and the camera holds on his eyes. If you're not at least a little sick after that fight, you definitely missed the point.
Fucking pathetic.
Some people even cried while fighting this guy, because Sif keeps his oath even when it means he must fight a stranger to defend a dead friend. And if you didn't know, his sacrifice was so grand that even in Dark Souls 3 we see the Abyss Watchers, a resemble of his character. Which, yeah, who could have thought those people also got humbled by the Abyss. You just have to move on. Don't care about Abyss. What do you care?
Seeker of fire, coveter of the throne. I am Vendrick, ruler of Drangleic.
Vendrick is the weight of history made flesh. He wasn't always hollow, he was a king with goals, decisions, victories, but the game's fragmented storytelling reveals the arc, a ruler who tried to fix the curse of the undead, who built and fought, and who ultimately ended up a shell. The worst part is the hints that he was manipulated, or that he wore the burden of choices he didn't fully understand in the end. Reading the item descriptions, you get the sense of a man in decline, trying to hold together a kingdom and losing himself in the process. And I can even say it was more that he felt he shouldn't kill Nashandra even if she betrayed him. If you don't know who Nashandra is the person who manipulated him. We already talked about her in this video. She's the most evil character in the game. But Wendrick refers to Nashandra as Dear Chandra. Not her full name, it's a nickname, but still he has affection for this woman. That shows that he is even blaming himself for all of the misery, not Nashandra. There is something uniquely lonely about Wendrick. Most Souls tragedies are personal, a lover, a friend, a single death. Wendrick's saddest element is collective. His loss meant the kingdom's loss. The player confronts his hollowed remains, wandering without language. That empty armor is more terrifying than a monstrous boss because it represents all the dreams that failed. But still again, Gwyn, take notes. It's all your f***ing fault.
You mean me?
Was Wendrick the hero who tried to save everyone and failed, or the ruler whose choices doomed his people? Both readings are tragic. The uncertainty, the way the story leaves us to fill in blanks, forces us to kinda participate in his sadness. Wendrick is not tragic because he was weak, he's tragic because he tried the impossible and paid with his soul. So in my opinion, you don't really need a baddie to destroy a kingdom or a king. It was more deeper than that. Scorned, shunned, manipulated and cursed, they wanted nothing more than to shrug off the burdens imposed by their regal blood. Dude was born into his role, hating it with every fiber of his being. Lothric was a crippled boy, which was a kinda ironic thing because he was part of a god race. He isolated himself from all the things they were forcing him to do. The only good thing he had was his brother, which stood by him for the whole time, but even then he was responsible for crippling him as well due to his brother taking up a part of his course to alleviate him. Yes, Lorien was perfectly fine. After all of those things, some random ass guy comes out of nowhere and proceeds to murder you and your brother and disassembles your head and force you to death to take part in the ritual you absolutely loathe. Why am I talking as if I didn't kill them both? Lothric's pain is philosophical. He was born and trained to be a tool, the heir who would link the flame, but when the time came, he refused. Lothric's refusal is a moral act, but it's also a prison. The game suggests childhood mutilations and a lineage obsessed with producing the perfect sacrificial king. Imagine being taught your worth is only in death, and then choosing not to play that role. That choice is powerful, but it leaves him trapped in an arrested, childish body beside his burned older brother. You kind of feel bad for the world that demanded such a thing, and tenderness, I might say, for the boy who finally says no. But that no doesn't free him. He is still left with the consequences: exile from purpose, mockery, and a slow fading of identity. And I don't know why people want to make these two gay. I mean, loneliness is hard. You might do some weird stuff when you're alone, maybe? I don't know. Bloodborne is soaked in shame and curiosity, and two small tragedies encapsulate that tone. The Odin Chapel Dweller is a tiny, frightened man who clings to ideal of shelter and mercy in a ruined city. But most of the people actually were frightened at first when they met him. He's the kind of character you want to protect after a while. Then there is Lawrence. Not just a boss, but an origin story of corruption. A brilliant man who helped found the healing church and ended as a holy inferno. To witness Lawrence is to witness the fall of an idea. Where Astraea is heartbreak as mercy, and Wendrick is grief as a kingdom, Bloodborne's suffering is ideological. The Chapel Dweller is a microcosm of small people trying to hold the line and fail, because at the end I think nobody survive, and Odin, if I'm saying his name right, remains alone. I mean, he is alone the entire game. Nobody actually trusts him, and we didn't too. That's a tragic thing about him. And Lawrence is the microcosm of institutions that start as help and end as horror. Both are tragic because they show how goodness can be turned into harm at the human and structural level. Was Lawrence aware of what he created? Was the chapel dweller simply unlucky? Our community loves to map out Bergenwerf's experiments and trace the dots from learning to religion to catastrophe. And Lawrence is the only character from the main protagonist of the Old Hunter who fails to find redemption before his death. With Ludwig, if you have one of the church's set, when you speak to him, you can choose to lie to him about his hunters becoming the honorable Spartans that he had hoped for, and let him die in peace. With Lady Maria, killing him was basically letting her go of all that guilt from the fishing hamlet the doll told you after killing her. And with Gehrman, we actually free him twice. Once by killing him at the end of the game, basically just removing him from the hunter's dream, and the other is by killing the orphan of Kaz. Lawrence is the only one who fails to find a way for redemption. The day he became a beast, he was destined to be and die as a beast. Yet still more than ever trying to recover his human skull is just so brutal. Like others, he just did some unethical things, but the consequences were different and not fair. Ensa Naoni, finish me, Wolf. Sekiro's tragedy is visceral and direct. The demon of hatred isn't born from fate or noble sacrifice. It's the result of one person being swallowed by their own fire. Hatred. The transformation is violent and immediate. This character forces the player to confront culpability differently. It's not destiny, it's choice. Even the naming, demon of hatred, is blunt. It leaves no room for poetic justification. The effect is cathartic in a different way. The sadness stems from watching potential waste away into fury that devours everything, including itself. The demon of hatred is the sculptor, and the theory on how he transformed into this beast, the demon of hatred, is that he was absorbed by hatred because of Ashina, or the night that Interior Ministry burned down Ashina Castle. But still, it's just a theory.
The painting. This must have been Leia's room.
I could have talked about Romeo, which basically is the Greek philosophy of fate, can make toys of us, but oh man, you already know what time it is. Lies of P is newer, but it wears the soul's aesthetic well. Lee, also known in expansions as Lee for Lawrence Monad or the legendary Stalker, is one of those characters who feels squeezed by the world's mechanics. She dedicates herself to a dangerous purpose, and the story peels back to reveal losses, betrayals, and a life spent tracking truths that others don't want uncovered. She is tragic because she's made to shoulder what society refuses to face. I'm really sad of his expression being too late. Always too late. What's interesting about Lee is how the game frames obsession. The pursuit of truth is noble on paper, but in practice it isolates you. The writing gives her brief human moments, a line of regret, a flash of remembered kindness, and then strips it away with duty. That emptying is a quiet kind of tragedy, not bloody, but painfully inevitable. I could also say that P himself might deserve consideration here. The author surmises in the Song of Achilles that perhaps it is a greater grief, after all, to be left on earth when another is gone. If that is so, P is victim in so many ways, with so many losers. Even if he came victorious out of all those bosses, and like Lee, he is also always late. Carlo constantly overshadows him, even Sophia uses him. I mean, yeah, with good intentions, but still. And Geppetto, shit, fathers being fathers, you have to decide this one by yourself. But now, Elden Ring.
Oh, so it wasn't just me this happened to. To think he'd forget who you were as well. I knew he'd burn himself out. Old Hugh. I think we could talk him into leaving the round table hold now. But maybe It's better that we don't. It's only proper that we respect his choice to stay.
I knew you'd be back. Here's one. My masterpiece to slay a god. That's all I've lived for. And my promise to quit America. But do me a favour and do look after the girl. I can't hold on much longer. I'm going the way of the round table. It was a great honour to smith the weapons during my time here. Allow me to call you this just once before it ends, my lord.
Righteous tarnished, become our new lord.
For that is what you are.
A lord, not for gods, but for men.
Thou art yet to become me. Thou art yet to become a god. Let us be shattered.
The Soul series specializes in characters that don't scream for sympathy. They earn it slowly through scattered lines and atmosphere. If there is a single thing tying these tragedies together, it's this: an impression that the world is bigger than you, and that people often suffer inside mechanisms they didn't make, whether it's compassion turned corrupt, loyalty turned weapon, kingship turned ruin, or simple labor turned life sentence. These characters stick with us because they feel human. So, which one hit you the most? Did Sif make you choke up, or did Hugh's quiet life land harder? Tell me in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe, and until next time, may the flames guide your way.